do you think, if anything, should happen to James Comey then? What's your opinion on that?
My preference? I'd love to see the death penalty. And boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, if I could flip the switch myself, I'd do it. Because these men are traitors. They absolutely assaulted not just the Trump administration, but your vote, my vote, and anybody who went to the ballot box in 2016, irrespective of who we voted for. They decided that they were going to choose the nation's political winners and lose.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts, and we have to ask the question that is so important. Are they going to be able to just blame James Comey for the years, if not decades, of cover-ups from what happened with Hussein to Bush to the Clintons and even before that? We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to take a look at the latest Q posts, a lot of breaking news that the mainstream media won't touch. So you guys are going to want to stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know I say thanks if you've hit that subscribe button. You know, if you haven't done it yet, look, it's really easy. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, then select all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Today, we're picking up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 4095, and we're picking up at Q post 4096. But before we get started, I just want to remind you this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. You can download it for free using the link in the description today. That way they know I sent you. You can use it on your iPhone, your Android, your Mac, your Windows computer, whatever you're using. But it's a better internet browser, better than Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, or any other, Google Chrome, whatever internet browser you're using. It's better. You need to download it today for free using the link in the description, install it, and run it on your device or computer, and they'll make a contribution to this channel. So check out the Brave browser for free today. Now, here we are. We're starting May 4th, 2020, and today's post 4096 starts us off with this Fox News article talking about Democrats deploying DARPA-funded AI-driven information warfare tool to target pro-Trump accounts. And what exactly is this article talking about? Well, it's by Greg Ree over at Fox News, and it goes over this anti-Trump democratically aligned political action committee, which is now being advised by the deep state shill retired Army General Stanley McChrystal, who is planning to deploy an information warfare tool that reportedly received its initial funding from DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So this story is something we've covered here before on the channel, but it's coming from this group called Defeat Disinfo, who's using this 3 million strong network of influencers who in some cases are being paid, at least the ones with larger followings, to take sides against President Trump. I mean, this is insane, right? This Defeat Disinfo group is being headed by this retired Army general who we've talked about here on the channel before. And what is his story, right? Well, a good friend of mine who used to be a code breaker with the NSA and knows Admiral Rogers was bringing this to my attention, right? This story about Michael Hastings. And if you don't know what happened to this, you should read the story. I'll leave a link in the description. But the summary of it is he was a contributor with Rolling Stone, and when he was 33, he died mysteriously in a car accident in Los Angeles. But not very long after, he had tanked the career of this deep state general, Stanley McChrystal, right? Because he had written an article called The Runaway General in Rolling Stone, which captured the then Supreme Commander of the U.S.-led war effort in Afghanistan, openly mocking his civilian commanders in the White House, which forced President Obama to say, quote, "The conduct represented in the recently published article does not meet the standard that should be set by a commanding general. And it undermines the civilian control of the military that is at the core of our democratic system." So their little deep state pawn shill general that they were running actually had to step down from his position because of the article that was written by this man, who then mysteriously died after that in a car accident. And look, I don't want to die in a mysterious car accident for calling out these people, but if we don't stand up for our country, who will, right? They can't take us all out. And I'm not saying that that's what happened in this case. To be very clear, I'm not saying that his death is in any way connected to the fact that he wrote an article that removed a deep state shill general from the Supreme Command position. But let's just be honest here, ladies and gentlemen. How many people who have exposed these criminals end up mysteriously dying well before their time, right? This is not something new. And it seems the closer you get to the truth, the higher the probability is that you might not make it through all this. But look, they can't silence us all. And that's why we commit to doing this every day. I put God first. I put my life to God. I trust in God. And I know that no matter what happens, in the end, God wins. So it's incredible that I'm even sitting here having to say this stuff. Sometimes I just don't know. But look, you guys see this. I'm not the only one who's out here talking about it. And we have to keep shining a light onto it every single day. So that's the general summary here. The article goes on to talk about, this social media guru, Curtis Hufflin, who's heading up the Defeat Disinfo campaign, and how he's, working to get rid of the extremism because President Trump said that Americans should inject themselves with disinfectant. That's a complete and bold-faced lie being reported here by Fox News. But when, it's quoting him or explaining what he said, paraphrasing him. So that's what the fake news talking point is. So, I actually like Greg Ree's work on Fox News. So this is what it is, right? Then it gets into now DARPA's denying that they helped create this technology. It doesn't matter. They're deploying it because they know how effective President Trump is at not only reaching the people, but effectively telling us where to look, right? Where to research, the right questions to ask. And they have to shut that down because they have to shut you down because they don't want you snooping around and messing up their schemes. Okay? That's what it seems to me, at least. So, Q says information warfare, quote unquote. Imagine that, Q. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems to be where we are, right? The next one here points us to this Breitbart.com article giving us an exclusive. Congressman Nancy Pelosi blocking investigation into Chinese coronavirus origins, tax money to Wuhan lab. Well, that's interesting. Representative Guy Reckchendaller, a Republican out of Pennsylvania, told Breitbart News this weekend that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi would rather investigate President Donald Trump again than focus on the actual origins of the Chinese coronavirus and U.S. tax dollars that went to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, from which intelligence officials increasingly believe the virus leaked. Convenient. Appearing on the Breitbart News Saturday on Sirius XM 125, the Patriot Channel, Reckchendaller discussed his efforts to investigate tax dollars that flowed through a New York firm to the Wuhan lab. He said that Pelosi and House Democrats are not interested in holding the Chinese Communist Party accountable and instead want to focus their oversight efforts on politically harming President Trump again, just like they tried to and failed with the partisan impeachment last year and earlier this year. Well, surprise, surprise. Color me shocked that the Democrats want to continue their witch hunt against President Trump in the middle of what seems to be the accidental or intentional, we don't know, possible release of some sort of weaponized virus or mutated virus from a research lab in Wuhan, right? This is insanity. And we're not free. We don't even have the freedom to go out of our house right now. And these people won't even let us open an investigation into where this came from. This is totalitarianism at its peak. These people are trying to shut us down. They're shutting down our ability to ask questions. And then they're casting dispersion and using pejoratives that they've created like conspiracy theorists to dismiss us, right? Creating the straw man so it can be tossed away with the wind. I mean, at what point do we stand up to the tyranny of the left and say no more? We want to be able to have the freedom to investigate what happened here. We don't want to start World War III, but we also want to get to the bottom of what happened and hold those accountable responsible. And we don't want another fake, phony, witch hunt, hoax, scam investigation to blockade all of the evidence of your crimes. And I'm talking about the Democrats and their deep state backers and the rhinos and the rest. We don't want you just, stalling for time so that you can get one of your cronies or lackeys back in office so that you can sell our country out to China again. That's not what we're looking for. The American people are done with it. We're done with it. Yet they still hold enough power and have enough people brainwashed and living in this zombie-like state of existence where they can't even open their eyes and see the criminals surrounding them. But they listen to the talking heads on the fake news every night who say, orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. And then they just repeat that. And then they go on there like, it's like the NPC avatars that just, get angry about whatever they're told to get angry about, even if it's completely contradictory to their beliefs or their ideals. They don't know the difference. And at this point, now they're investing in tools that were used to fight ISIS to try to go after people who are helping share information and having, and not even just sharing the information, but asking questions, mostly doing research, using their own logical thinking to come to conclusions. That's what they want to shut down, which means your freedom to think is a threat to their existence. Let that sink in. So, Q says, why would Pelosi Democrats block origination source rollout investigation of COVID-19 in China? Prevent public exposure of truth? Ask yourself why. Democrat People's Republic of China, Q. So again, we've talked about this briefly, but where did this virus come from? That's the question we all want to know the answer to. I don't know the answer because it's almost impossible to tell. You listen to the media and it was a bat that flew 700 miles across the country or 2,000 miles across the country to a wet market in Wuhan and then was eaten or something and ended up getting everyone sick. Or if you listen to a lot of other people, the people like Steve Bannon and those who are kind of doing a lot of this research in the back end and people like my sources who I've talked to, which you guys have seen on the show here, include people like Major General Paul Vallely and others who have done their own research. And then other people I've been talking to are in different areas of intelligence who, or former intelligence, or other people who are doing a lot of this investigatory work who are saying, yeah, it's very possible it came from a research lab in Wuhan. And then they're even saying, and I think Q's gone into this briefly, asking the question, well, what if it was some kind of deep state clown operation to release this via China, right? What would be the ramifications of that? That could start global World War III, right? So that's why Q, I think, and also Q keeps saying, what would happen if President Trump, doubted the narrative from the beginning, right, with this COVID-19 thing. So look, there are matters of national security involved, and there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered. But the fact that the Democrats and Pelosi are blocking this investigation is one thing. But then the fact that they want to not only block the investigation, but then start another coup, witch hunt hoax against President Trump just shows that this was never, they've never cared about the safety of the American people. It's always been political. And what you're seeing with the news now, exacerbating this and trying to draw it out and continuing to use the fear-mongering and the scare tactics is just an extension of this blockade and this coup and this, fake news hoax that's been going on since President Trump won this election. These people don't want the fact that most of them have been in bed with China from day one exposed. So you can't investigate China because China's probably got dirt on half of them and would turn it over. And then that's how you start wars. Or something to that effect. You tell me down in the comments what you think. I'm just asking questions here, just trying to figure this out. And then the next post here, Q gives us this graphic showing Obama with his self-attributed code name. He chose it. He selected it personally. Renegade. What does that mean? Definition, quote, noun, a person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. Synonym, traitor, defector, deserter, turncoat, rebel, mutineer. What a great name for this. What an appropriate name. And he knew it. That's why he chose it. But it says here, why did Hussein Berry choose Renegade as United States Secret Service code name? Define Renegade. Hussein Berry, parents both fluent in Russian. Is Russian a common language to learn? Public career history, mom, dad. Public career history require language as prerequisite. Farm work takes special skills. Q. So, a lot of speculation and information about what Obama's parents did, and it's obvious that Q's referencing their connections to the CIA. And look, These people worked on the farm. The farm was the clowns. The clowns were the clowns in America. Take the first three letters. You know what that spells. So or the first three letters of each word. So think about it, right? The self-described renegade takes control of our country, probably a groomed asset of the clowns from day one, who then turns and manages to funnel trillions or billions, if not a trillion or more dollars into these deals, right? Which were seemingly just ways to launder cash out of the United States government into these foreign countries where it could be divvied up into slush funds that may or may not exist in, I don't know, Singapore, Banco de Mexico, where else? There's a few other ones, the Deutsche Bank. Yeah, Pelosi, Clinton's, Obama. You guys know where your slush funds are if they exist, right? So that's where we're at, right? And if Obama's parents were a part of the farm and all that, then that raises so many more questions, right? And it just gets worse and worse from there. So think about the type of corruption we're dealing with, and this has been going on for quite some time. And actually, one more thing, I just want to say, if they try to pawn this all off on Comey, I'm going to be disappointed. I know a lot of people out there are going to be disappointed because we know that Comey and the rest are just errand boys for these people who are just errand boys in turn for the big puppet masters, the Rothschild, Soros, Saud, all of that. So Saudis, the House of Saud, which is the Saudi royal family. This is important to understand. And I think, a lot of it, Q said maybe a lot of it won't come out publicly because it could start a war. Because, yeah, our leaders in some cases may or may not have been massive traitors who betrayed this country, betrayed their oath of office, and sold us out to the highest bidder. And that in turn could start a war if we start publicly acknowledging it. And I don't know if it would be an internal or external, but there might be some consequences to that. So I always try to keep that in mind as well. But it is where we are. So the next post here, Q gives us this picture graphic, or rather screenshot of a memorandum from the Attorney General. The subject is balancing public safety with the preservation of civil rights. And it says, many policies that would be unthinkable in regular times have become commonplace in recent weeks, and we do not want to unduly interfere with the important efforts of states and local officials to protect the public, but the Constitution is not suspended in time of crisis. We must therefore be vigilant to ensure its protections are preserved at the same time that the public is protected. I thank you for your attention to this important initiative and for your service to our country. So ultimately, that's exactly what we were talking about yesterday, last video with Q, saying, just because we're in the middle of a pandemic doesn't mean they just cancel the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. It doesn't mean that your First Amendment right just goes away. It doesn't mean that they can forcibly make you go out of business, lose all of your money, become destitute, not be able to feed your family or take care of yourself, and lock you in your home under house arrest even though you've done nothing wrong. They just can't do that. It's a violation of your constitutional rights. So remember that. And remember that these politicians, they can arrest you, they can do what they want, but they will never be able to make it stick in a court of law because there's no law that supersedes the Constitution as far as your individual rights go. Remember that. Keep that in your back pocket moving forward. So, the next one here, Thomas Jefferson, quote, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. When the government fears the people, there's liberty. And truer words have never been spoken. So we have to remind the government that it's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's not a government for the government to protect the government against the people. It's not that. And if they think that's what it's for, then they shouldn't be running the government. The next one. Why is there an active coordinated disinformation campaign, the one we just talked about at the beginning, being deployed using misleading headlines, no original source attached, tactics, and push in attempt to amplify direct original source attacks or push predetermined and orchestrated false claim statements of others? Think decodes. Constant mainstream media attacks. Why? When does the enemy expend ammunition? For what purpose? Question what you read from every source. Use discernment. Q. So maybe it's not exactly talking about what we talked about in the beginning with that defeat disinfo campaign, but it is talking about the fact that the mainstream media is continuing to come after us. But to give you an idea of what Q's talking about, it's better to go to the next post here, because they actually give us an example, right? So this was a tweet put out by this Jeff Tiedrich guy, who's, I guess, he's on the top of every one of President Trump's tweets. He always is just completely talking trash about President Trump. So he tweets out, "Am I understanding this correctly? Sheltering at home is a hoax, but," checks notes, "JFK Jr. faking his own death in order to help Trump round up a gang of international sex traffickers is real." And then he curses. Yeah. It says, "You stupid idiots are why our country can't have nice things." And then somebody responded saying, "In this case, you bring in the JFK Jr. speculation. Not only has QAnon not said this, but when asked directly whether JFK Jr. is alive, QAnon answered in the negative. The JFK Jr. speculation is fun, but not at all central to the main thesis that QAnon has been rolling out, dummy." And then somebody responded, "Let's talk about some of the stuff QAnon did say, like that Tom Hanks was secretly jailed for obviously hurting children, and that they know this because he posts symbolic photos of lost or discarded gloves, socks, and shoes on Instagram." And then they respond, "Great point, Sparky, except QAnon has said none of those things. Fake news strikes again. Many others have been digging into the rumors around Hanks, possibly because of the explosion of perverts outed during the whole Epstein thing, but QAnon, no." So it's true, right? We're out there doing a lot of investigative work, and we're making a lot of speculations, because that's what this movement has forced us to do in certain cases. You know, you have to be able to extrapolate what something means and what something could mean, especially when you're just viewing something from the surface, the topical view of it, and you're trying to dig beneath it. But at the same time, we have to be careful, because as Q's pointing out, they're just going to take that and turn it around and use all of these little speculations to conduct their gaslighting against us, right? And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. Yeah, I even make a few speculations here and there and ask questions, but usually I'm very clear to say, this is a question, I'm looking at this and asking, right? And I think most of the people that I talk to, most of the people I follow, they do the same thing. They're very clear about it, saying, this is a theory, this is a thought, this is a speculation. Yet, we're in the same point right now where they are using a lot of the other stuff to basically gaslight us. And that's their tactic now. So Q's pointing it out to us, and I think it's important to note that that's what's happening. It's a good example, and then Q says see previous posts. So that's what they're doing. They're gaslighting us, using these misleading headlines with no sources, just saying, look at how crazy these wacky conspiracy theorists are. So they're picking and choosing which facts they want to highlight and which things they want to take out of context to come and attack us. It's something that we're used to, but it's just something to be aware of at the same time. Now, the next one here Q gives us says sample past 30 days. Now, this gives us a Bing search for QAnon. And it shows us all these about this QAnon devotee live streamed her trip to New York to take out Joe Biden. And this reminds me exactly of that story about the guy who killed the mob boss and then said that, you know, he was doing it for QAnon. These people are crazy, right? You have to be a psychopath to get in a car and drive across the country with, in this case, apparently a bunch of knives to do something. And nobody in this movement is advocating violence. We are here peacefully coming together to exercise our First Amendment rights, to ask questions, and to demand that the government investigate and then hold accountable those who are responsible for committing crimes against this nation. That's as simple as it is. But they can't report that headline. They have to use things like this to attack us, right? To falsely attribute this action to the entire movement and then amplify it so that we can't respond. They don't ask us for a response, and if they do, they're just going to take your words and pull them out of context and use them to tear you apart, just like they've done to everyone else, right? They started with Alex Jones because they were setting a precedent for how they were going to do it against the rest of us, and now they're doing it every single day. And now they've locked us in our houses, and they're trying to literally turn us into thought criminals, just like Orwell's 1984. So welcome to 1984. That's where we're at. This is the Orwellian dystopia that we have stumbled into via the criminals who tried to destroy this nation from the top down. So obviously, you know, this is just another example of that. You can go through all the stories here, but yeah, they're all just basically, you know, calling us crazy, saying that we're dangerous. You know, what's dangerous to them is our free thinking, us exercising our First Amendment rights, us asking questions that go against their narrative that they're trying to imprint on you. Because you are a thought slave. You are not meant to ask questions of these people. They are the arbiters of truth and morality and what's virtuous. Because if you don't listen to them, you are ostracized. You are kicked out. You're put in the digital gulag so that you can never exercise your freedoms again. And that's what they do. And that's what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. Now, finally, and Q says, do you understand? Q, yeah, we understand. The next one here says reconcile, and it's got this post, right? And it gives us this graphic with all of these stories, which, again, the 4 a.m. talking points, they literally use the same phrases. Trump promoted coronavirus drug finds more deaths, no benefit. Great. That's really helpful to report information that really doesn't mean anything, right? No benefit. What does that mean? And of course there are more deaths. We knew there were going to be more deaths. So they're basically coming out and saying, this is what we knew was going to happen. Let's blame Trump and blame the one thing that's actually helped a lot of people. I mean, that's the truth. A lot of doctors and patients have come forward saying hydroxychloroquine has helped them with azithromycin and Z-Pak. But you won't see that story in the fake news because it doesn't hurt President Trump. It doesn't politically take him out. So that's what Q is pointing us to, I think. And then he says reconcile with this, which is a One News show article saying that Dr. Fauci knew about HCQ, hydroxychloroquine, in 2005 and that nobody needed to die, apparently, according to this article by Brian Fisher. But it says Dr. Anthony Fauci, whose expert advice to President Trump, has resulted in the complete shutdown of the greatest economic engine in the world and has known since 2005 that chloroquine is an effective inhibitor of coronaviruses. How did he know this? Because of research done by the National Institute of Health, of which he is the director. So think about it. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice, but understand that you need to always question what they're telling you. And especially when it comes from people who you know have been serial liars from day one, who have been misleading you, who have been trying to undermine this country's sovereignty and security by helping facilitate a coup against a sitting president. Do you really think they have your best interest at hand? I mean, it's a serious question. So finally, we have one more Q post. It says, DARPA, Facebook, Twitter, Google, Democrat coordination and development of AI tool in attempt to counter your reach, now public, see previous drops, demonstrates your collective influence. Think mainstream media, daily attacks, losing ground. You are winning the information warfare campaign. Support will always be provided, undisclosed methods Q. And that is exactly what's happening here. This is the largest intel drop of our generation and probably in the world's history, it seems, as far as what we know, the modern world. And this information is being forwarded and protected. The patriots who are exposing it are being protected and watched after, and we are all in this together. Don't forget, we're in it together. And a few things before we go. You know, President Trump on Twitter saying Comcast should open up a long overdue Florida cold case against Psycho Joe Scarborough. I know him and Crazy Michael well, used them beautifully in the last election, dumped them nicely, and will state on the record that he is nuts besides bad ratings. Wow. Hashtag open Joe cold case. Well, we know Joe Scarborough had an assistant, I guess, when he was in Congress, who I think mysteriously died in his office, and they just swept that under the rug. And now he's on MSNBC every day spouting the fake news and lying and casting dispersion against the President of the United States. Spreading his fake news lies. I wonder why. And when the President of the United States tells me that we need to open an investigation into somebody who was closely related to a mysterious death, I take that seriously. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry at all. So that's where we're at. Also, the FEC is now launching the committee to draft Michelle Obama for vice president. So I want to clear this up. In the last episode, I talked about Obama, maybe Clinton, Barack ticket, but this is the ticket that probably makes more sense. Michelle and Biden, but we'll see what happens here. I just think that they can't bring anyone outside in. Because if they brought somebody from the outside who wasn't one of these complicit cabal criminal people, then maybe they would stand a chance. Maybe I would take a second to listen to them. But when they're just drafting from inside their own network of criminal people, I don't trust it. And you can say what you want, but that's my opinion. Of course, George Bush saying we are not partisan combatants in this fight against coronavirus. Yeah, okay, he's going after Trump. We know about his deep state ties. Skull and Bones, ring any bells? What happened to the journalist who asked him that question? Mysteriously dead. So, yeah, nobody wants to end up on the other side of that, but they can't take us all out. That's all I'll say. Also, another interesting one, Dan Scavino Jr. posted about the break on Q, or posted on his Twitter or Instagram about this pool table, and then it connects back to this Q post. Very interesting. If you want to pause it and read through all that, you're more than welcome to. And finally, huge former NSC chief of staff, Fred Fleets, the House Intelligence Committee found John Brennan suppressed Russia evidence during 2016 election. Yeah, tell us something we don't know. So that's where we're at. That's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. Thanks for watching. A few more things before we go. Obviously, come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about everything. Also, you can find me on social media at Twitter at JustInformYou. I'm also on Twitter at informed_news. And you can find me at justinformednews.com. And of course, the backup channel, BitChute.com/justinformedtalk. And if you want to contribute and help keep this channel alive, there is Patreon, the crowdfunding website. Your support keeps this channel alive. That's patreon.com/justinformedtalk. Link will be in the description. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. And know you're helping create content on this channel. And obviously, YouTube's tried to put it out of business. They demonetized everything. They've done everything they can to put this out of business and prevent me from being able to do this. But you guys make it possible through your donations. So thank you. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything we've talked about here will be in the description below. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Now, I want to share with you the verse out of Romans that talks about warning against divisive people. And this is from Paul, right? And what I'm going to share with you is his advice in warning against the divisive people, but it remains true today. So I want to share these words. And this is out of Romans 16, verse 17 through 18. It says, "Now I implore you, brothers, watch out for those who cause dissensions and pitfalls contrary to the doctrine you have learned. Avoid them, for such people do not serve our Lord Christ, but their own appetites, and by smooth talk and flattering words they deceive the hearts of the unsuspecting." And that's it. But be careful. Just as Q was telling us earlier that there are people out there who want to, kind of sow division and discord within our movement and do these things, we have to be very aware of those who focus on their ego first, or focus on themselves and will try to divide us, right? Divide us by religion and race and by the political spectrum and by however they can, right? They don't want us uniting in the common bond that is our Christian belief, our belief in Christ, our love of Christ, and our admiration and adherence to the values and principles of Christianity. Don't let them shut you down. Don't let them make you feel ashamed for having that belief. Wear it proudly every day. Put it forward and say, I will believe in Christ from here until eternity, and I will help bring as many people as I can by sharing the gospel, bring as many people as I can to Christ in my time here on this earth. And no matter what, I know we'll be okay because God wins. That's my message to you. I want you to take that into your heart and hold it there and use it as your justification for going out in the world and sharing the gospel and fulfilling your ministry and helping others and doing the right thing, living righteously, living with integrity, following Christ, and living a godly life. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thanks for watching this episode. Remember to come here, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit it, headbutt it, tap it, punch it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.